Without hesitation, Suaping told the little skeleton to go and kill the beasts. Those 9th rank beasts instantly died by the little skeleton's bone blade. Red blood tainted the snow. Suaping and Yunwanli resumed their trip. They were attacked several times more, but Suaping took care of them with ease. Most of the beasts they met were of the 8th or the 9th rank. There were a few beast kings, but none of them was of the void state. They had covered over 100,000 meters when the winged wind listener whispered to Yunwanli, "Old one, I'm hearing battles about 100,000 meters ahead of us." Battles? Yunwanli turned to Suaping. Suaping was worried, thinking that Solingya was there. He told the Inferno Dragon to hurry. Whoosh! The Inferno Dragon let out a roar, flapped its wings, and flew onward at full speed. Something like whirlwinds appeared on the Inferno Dragon's wings. It was a skill called the Force of Wind which could greatly elevate its speed. The winged wind listener was surprised to see the Inferno Dragon using the Force of Wind, which should be a legendary skill that was only mastered by a small number of beast kings of the Wind family. How come the Inferno Dragon is able to use it? Yunwanli had also noticed that, but Suaping's skeleton was even weirder. So, for the Inferno Dragon to be using that skill was nothing. "Come on, let's go," Yunwanli urged his pet. The winged wind listener came back to its senses. This pet was also using the Force of Wind. The pet's flight path was a strange one, but it soon caught up with the Inferno Dragon. After all, being a pet of the Wind family, it wouldn't be slower than the Inferno Dragon. After rushing for 10 minutes or so, Suaping and Yunwanli had reached the place the winged wind listener had mentioned. They had kept on tackling with many beasts along the way. As they looked into the distance, they saw a magnificent snowy mountain range. A bunch of beasts was running toward some people by the opening of a valley. A dozen beast kings were trying to stop the wild beasts' attack. Some people were running about close to the beast kings as they also fought against those creatures. That's the strategic pass. Yunwanli could not believe it. This is the entrance to the next field. Those must be the legendary battle pet warriors from the tower. Suaping recognized that those people were indeed legendary battle pet warriors. They were trying to stop the wild beasts at the moment. The weakest beasts were at the 8th and the 9th rank, while there were also dozens at the beast king rank. It was a terrifying scene. It would be appalling to see 3 or 4 beast kings attacking together at ground level. However, there were dozens of beast kings in this situation. That was much more horrifying than the attack Suaping experienced in the Longjiang base city. Of course, he could not tell if any of the beast kings were like the other world heavenly king, which was at least at the fate state, a grade which was much more powerful than the void state. One other world heavenly king at the fate state had enough power to crush hundreds or even thousands of beast kings of the ocean state. "Go and help out," Suaping said. He didn't like the tower. However, he couldn't sit around and do nothing while he witnessed how the legendary battle pet warriors were struggling to stop the wild beasts. After all, the entire world would be in chaos if those beast kings were to get out. Yunwanli was scared, but that very fear shamed him. Even Suaping, who had turned hostile toward the tower, was willing to step up. On the other hand, he, a member of the tower and a man respected by countless students of the academy, was thinking about escaping. What a shame! Come with me. Yunwanli bit his teeth. The winged wind listener looked at Yunwanli with worry. Compared with duty and obligation, the winged wind listener cared more about Yunwanli's life. It only had one master, Yunwanli. Whoosh! Suaping flew toward the valley. The legendary battle pet warriors immediately noticed him. They stole a second from their fight and darted him a look, quickly relieved to see it was a human being approaching. The legendary battle pet warriors threw themselves into the fight again. Suaping stood in the air, looking down at the crowd of beasts. He could tell the strength of the beast kings since he was close enough. Most of the beast kings were at the ocean state and 3 were at the void state. None of the beast kings was at the fate state. That was good news to Suaping. Beast kings of the fate state were still quite tricky for him. He could muster combat strength at the fate state when he merged with the little skeleton, but that didn't mean he didn't have a problem fighting fate state beast kings. He had been able to force the otherworld heavenly king to leave because the latter was unwilling to get hurt. He had noticed how the heavenly king had saved some strength as it was leaving. I see that the beasts have outnumbered us. Let's show the beasts what outnumbering truly means, Sua Ping said to the little skeleton. The little skeleton understood. It left the dragon's shoulder and flew into the valley. Soon, the little skeleton was above the gathering of beasts in the air. Some of them noticed the little skeleton, as it was covered in darkness. In the meantime, a primitive door was opening in the air behind the little skeleton. Gate of the Undead. A chilly wind blew from the inside of the door as it opened. Evil creatures came out, riding on the wind. The wild shrieks and howls were terrifying. Those creatures dashed out from the world inside the door. There were skeleton knights and there were skeleton beasts. The wild beasts were disrupted as the undead creatures joined the fray. The undead army soon stomped some of the 8th rank and 9th rank beasts to death. What is that skill? Calling of the undead? No, it cannot be. There should be some media. Those creatures are good. The legendary battle pet warriors noticed the chaos made by the little skeleton. The pets of the undead family could use skills to summon creatures, but they would have to use some corpses. It was also noticeable that the creatures they were seeing were much more powerful. The undead creatures coming out from the door were listening to that skeleton's orders. It was the master of them all. No wonder the skill is scored over 80. This can increase combat strength by a large margin. Sua Ping, of course, was not surprised. He had tested the strength of the skill in a cultivation site. There was once a time when the little skeleton summoned a creature at the void state. The little skeleton's current combat strength was 39, higher than the void state beasts, but lower than the fate state. If the skill's score had something to do with the pet's combat strength, then Sua Ping would have been certain that the skill was of the fate state. The little skeleton stepped away from the door as it was stabilized. An area of darkness was established around the little skeleton. This skill was named the Field of Darkness. Any beast touched by the Field of Darkness was shouting miserably. Noises of pain were heard, as if the beasts were boiling in oil. Their scales and fur were burned. The little skeleton was like a walking death dealer. The Field of Darkness was not that effective against beast kings. They would be hurt, but it was nothing serious. On the other hand, the other beasts were less lucky. The corrosion would take their lives. The Skeleton King's skills are scary. Sua Ping stood on the Inferno Dragon's shoulder as he watched. The little skeleton was enough to manage since there weren't any Fate State Beast Kings. He would also need to stay on alert in case he failed to detect any Beast Kings of the Fate State. Besides, the little skeleton had strong regeneration abilities. Even a Fate State Beast King would have to go through much trouble to kill the little skeleton. Cry! At the same time, Yunwan Li had charged at the wild beasts with his pets. However, he was afraid to go too deep into the group of beasts. He assisted the other legendary battle pet warriors and killed the beasts that the little skeleton had left out. The tides were turned, thanks to the little skeleton. The Beast Kings launched a strike to deal with the little skeleton. Still, the little skeleton's skills were stunning. It killed several Beast Kings in a row. The other Beast Kings knew that things were not looking well for them. Roar! A beast bellowed with unbridled fury. The other Beast Kings stopped. Although unwilling, they turned around and chose to run. Some of the other beasts stayed while some fled with the Beast Kings. In an instant, there was nothing left but a ground full of corpses and blood. Sua Ping did not allow the little skeleton to chase the escaping beasts. It could be dangerous, especially since he wasn't familiar with that place. The battle ended and the door was closed. The undead creatures returned to the world on the other side of the door. Sua Ping told the little skeleton to return. Whoosh! 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 The legendary battle pet warriors flew to meet with Sua Ping. Ha, ha, we have such a young and handsome friend here. Brother, what's your name? Your battle pet is awesome. Thank God you got here on time, or else we would have been in serious trouble. The legendary battle pet warriors flashed brilliant smiles as they gabbled and relished their victory. Sui Ping looked at them. It surprised him to see that those people were completely unlike the legendary battle pet warriors he had met at the tower. They were actually nice. You can just call me Sui Ping. Are you all here under the tower's orders? Sui Ping asked. Sui Ping? Is that your name? Why don't you tell us your title? Ha, ha, well, I see that you're an easygoing and friendly boy. A bulky man covered in blood laughed. He wiped the blood off his mustache and face, then cleaned his hand on his clothes. Brother Su, are you a new guy from the tower? Said a young man with black hair, a rigid-looking face which contrasted with his soft voice. Sui Ping answered honestly, I'm here to find my sister. This is her picture, have you seen her? He showed them a picture he had on his phone. The legendary battle pet warriors were surprised to find that the young man was not from the tower. They closed in to look at that picture. No, she looks like you. Your sister is such a young girl. She's here? Didn't you ask the people at the first pass? Sui Ping shook his head. There's no one there. You're the first group of legendary battle pet warriors we've met. Everyone was frozen on the spot. Wouldn't beasts sneak out and destroy the world outside? They looked at each other, no one believed Sui Ping. It is true, I didn't make it up. You can go and take a look, Sui Ping said. The legendary battle pet warriors looked worried. Okay then, go and find out. A middle-aged man covered in scars walked over. The scars looked scary, but the calmness on his face gave him a friendly feeling. Okay. A middle-aged, short man nodded. He summoned a flying beast king pet and merged with it, a pair of wings grew on his back. The man flew away straight into the distance and disappeared. After the man named Tai left, the scar-ridden man approached Sui Ping. Hi, my name's Yuxiu, I'm the captain here. Brother Su, thank you for helping out, there would have been some injured people if you hadn't been here today. Sui Ping looked at him and sensed that Yuxiu was a man of profound astral powers. He believed that Yuxiu should be a warrior at the void state, and a powerful one at that. Legendary battle pet warriors of the void state were considered as part of the upper class in the tower. Void state and ocean state were markedly different. Those at the void state were able to easily kill ocean state warriors with their ability to manipulate space. I saw the incident, it was my job to lend a hand. I couldn't just sit there and let the beasts attack you. Sui Ping asked again, have you really not seen my sister? They looked at each other. No one gave an affirmative answer, they shook their heads. Sui Ping was disappointed. Did something happen to Solingya before she could reach that place? He clenched his fists while nervousness was creeping in. Brother Su, your sister should still be fine. Don't worry, we didn't see her, but there may be others at other passes that may have come across her, Yuxiu comforted Sui Ping. Sui Ping shook his head after a moment of silence. I'll go and look for her in other places. Please look after her for me if you see her. I'll come back. Brother Su, where are you going? Someone asked. Brother Su, from which entrance did your sister access the caves? Tell us about it, we may know something, an older man proposed. That was a good idea. Those legendary battle pet warriors normally stayed in the deep caves all year round. They knew that place better than him. Come and tell them, Sui Ping said to Yunwan Li. The legendary battle pet warriors shifted their looks to Yunwan Li. Yunwan Li produced a forced smile. The name's Yunwan Li, it is an honor to meet all of you. Fate Challenger Su's sister came from entrance number 7, the one in the Longyang base city. I should be the one guarding the entrance. His sister got in here by accident, due to an oversight on my part. No 7? That's not far from here. You cannot say for sure. The fields inside the caves are ever-changing. We have to find out when she got in. Fate Challenger Su, I thought his name was Suaping. Fate Challenger? The Fate Challenger. They were talking about the entrance when someone noticed the way Yunwan Li addressed Suaping. Someone pointed that out and the others began to question Yunwan Li. Yunwan Li was nervous. All the legendary battle pet warriors present were more intimidating than he was, even those at the ocean state. Those legendary battle pet warriors lived their lives in the deep caves. They were more aggressive than he was since he was living a comfortable life in the tower. Will, Mr. Su was named Fate Challenger only recently. He killed legendary battle pet warriors while still being at the titled rank. I call him Fate Challenger to show my respect, Yunwan Li explained. The legendary battle pet warriors turned to Suaping and with a closer look, they realized that Suaping was not at the legendary rank, instead, he was at the intermediate position of the titled rank. They still were a rank higher, and Suaping didn't use any skill to hide his rank. As such, they were quickly able to notice. What? After a moment of silence, one of the legendary battle pet warriors could no longer hold back his urge to ask, "Do you mean that Brother Su is still at the titled rank?" Yunwan Li nodded with a forced smile. Right. Still the titled rank. He was like this while still being at the titled rank. He's a monster. The legendary battle pet warriors were astounded to see Yunwan Li nodding. Even Ye Wuxiu, the most composed of all, was visibly shocked. There was no question that the skeleton pet had the combat strength of the void state. Being his master, how could Suaping be at the titled rank? How? Battle pet warriors were unable to sign contracts with battle pets too far apart in rank, it was an unshakable law. Unless, that skeleton was in fact at the ocean state and not the void state. But that would be even more outrageous. How could a battle pet of the ocean state fight like that? No one had seen any pet like that. Suaping frowned as he looked at the silent crowd. You talked about something that was ever-changing. What did you mean? The legendary battle pet warriors landed their surprised looks on Suaping. They could hardly imagine that Suaping was merely at the titled rank. A titled battle pet warrior entered the deep caves. How bold! Brother Su, you came here just to find your sister. Even this old man is moved. Brother Su, tell me about your battle pet. I've never seen a skeleton like this one. Why does it look like a common skeleton? All the legendary battle pet warriors were dishing out their questions at the same time. Ye Wuxiu quieted everyone down and said to Suaping, Brother Su, you're a young and loyal man. You have my respect. As for the fields, here's the thing. There are 5 different fields in the deep caves and their locations change all the time. For example, right now we're the closest to entrance number 7, but the location may change on our next guarding shift. When did your sister come in? A week ago, Suaping answered at once. Any particular changes during the past week? A week. Ye Wuxiu nodded. Yes. Locations change 2 to 3 times a week, they changed twice this past week. I'm not certain about the specifics, but I can ask someone whether they have seen your sister. You can contact them. That was unexpected. Thank you. Don't mention it. Ye Wuxiu waved his hand. I will ask around. You guys take Brother Su back to our base. Boss, be careful. Boss, let me go with you. The other people seemed worried. Suaping realized that something wasn't right. Is it dangerous to contract them? Ye Wuxiu smiled. It's okay, Brother Su, don't worry. You guys, go back with Brother Su. Chen, come with me. An old man stepped forward. Don't worry, people. I will make sure that he stays safe. The other legendary battle pet warriors accepted the arrangement. Brother Su, let's go. Anyway, Brother Su, you're from the world above. Have you heard about the Song family, the one stationed in the Xiangzhen base city? Brother Su, have you heard of a Han family? I am one of their members. The group of legendary battle pet warriors clustered around Suaping, and some noticed how everyone was asking him questions, so they changed their target to Yunwanli. Suaping felt that those questions were kind of strange. Would the tower not contact you when you're here? The legendary battle pet warriors were unable to see the world outside, but the tower was the bridge. They shouldn't be that isolated from outside information. The environment of the deep caves is harsh and the tower can't communicate with us at all times. The tower only contacts us when they have important messages to deliver. We also don't want to bother the tower with something trivial, a middle-aged man explained. He only had one arm, he must have suffered attacks that were impossible to heal. Another man added, I've been here for more than 3,000 years and I'm still seen as a new guy. Brother Tai got here 100 years ago. He told me that my Mo family was doing well, there were new titled battle pet warriors in the family. I wonder how they're doing now. Are the base cities still the same as before? Someone interrupted. Suaping asked the old man who had stayed there for 300 years. 300 years? I thought you only stayed here for 50 years. Yunwanli seemed to be stressed out after hearing that. That old man shook his head with a smile. Yes, the order said 50 years. I planned on returning after 50 years when I got here. However, things happened. The first year was difficult for me, but then I stayed for 10 years and then 20. An old friend of mine died here while trying to save me. You've seen it yourself. There are simply too many beasts down here. We don't have enough legendary battle pet warriors here and it's hard for one to reach the legendary rank. Who will guard this place if we leave? If we do leave, the entire world would suffer and our families would be dragged down as a result. A young man nodded, but he sounded old. Little Mo is right. There are simply too many beasts down here. The tower is sending fewer and fewer legendary battle pet warriors. Something would happen if we decide to leave. I've stayed and fought here for 500 years. Many senior warriors died before me, it's because of them that I can live to this day. So, I will not leave. Staying here means that I can protect the families of the deceased warriors. Yes. We came here and we won't leave, a bald man said with determination. The other legendary battle pet warriors remained silent, but the determination on their faces was clear enough to Suaping. Suaping could not believe that. Those legendary battle pet warriors were nothing like the people he had met in the tower. They had already served their terms, but they still chose to stay at the risk of their lives. Suaping believed that those men were not lying, they sincerely and honestly wanted to commit to their responsibilities. To protect the safety and security in the world above ground. Those men were covered in scars, more or less. Suaping was so touched to the point of speechlessness. After a long while, he finally found his voice. So, have any legendary battle pet warriors left before they finished their terms? The old man called Little Mo nodded. Of course, some end up leaving, but I understand. They have things they have to look after. Staying here means to stake your life every day, no one can say for sure if they can live till the next day. Today, if it wasn't for you, Brother Su, someone of us might have said goodbye to this world. They claimed, that is correct. It is their right to leave if they want. It is our choice to stay. We don't force anyone to do anything and we don't blame anyone for leaving. Suaping looked at them. Did you come here right after you joined the tower? Of course, that is the rule. Those who came here did so when they first joined the tower, and some of the senior members of the tower would visit us every now and then. There was a man surnamed Yun who was at the Void State. He joined the tower a long time ago, he went back after his term at the caves ended but later returned. Unfortunately, he died a heroic death 400 years ago. Suddenly, an old man with one ear said something meaningful to Suaping. Brother Su, be mindful with your choice of questions. Suaping was surprised, it was the first time the old man had spoken since they arrived. He saw the look in the old man's eyes and Suaping understood what he meant. He instantly thought of many things and understood even more. The tower's rules stipulated that all legendary battle pet warriors had to serve a term in the deep caves. Some of the legendary battle pet warriors hid the fact that they had already reached the legendary rank to avoid joining the tower and the responsibility that came with it. They would live their lives in the shadows to stay clear of such risks. A case in point would be the old man of the Qing family that was killed by Suoping during the Supremacy League. Some legendary battle pet warriors had joined the tower, but they only aimed for the tower's resources. Most of them would serve as appointed by the tower, but they would leave right after they finished their job. Even so, there would always be people who would choose to stay, like those people. They finished their terms but they stayed. Maybe they would remain there until the end of their lives. People were different. This fact also applied to the legendary battle pet warriors. Everyone laid a load on the willing horse. This was also applicable to legendary battle pet warriors. That was the truth of the world. But Suoping thought of those people that would only be drinking, merrymaking, and watching their battle pets play games. How ironic! Fate Challenger Su, Yunwan Li wished to talk but stopped on second thought. He was worried. Suoping immediately understood that Yunwan Li wanted him to be prudent. Suoping grinned. The tower is not in want of legendary battle pet warriors. Those people stay in the tower and have fun while people are risking their lives down here. What made you think I would hide the tower's lies? Yunwan Li looked around, embarrassed to continue. The old man with the single ear pulled a long face. He gazed at Suoping but eventually looked away and shook his head with a sigh. The legendary battle pet warriors stopped talking. They noticed the shame on Yunwan Li's face. Soon after, the legendary battle pet warriors realized what Suoping was referring to. Even though these warriors had not developed scheming hearts, they weren't fools, either. After a moment of silence, the man surnamed Mo said, "Brother Su, I understand. We know this. You know." Suoping looked at him and the other. They said nothing but they didn't seem stunned nor angry. "We've stayed here for a long, long time. We've had some new legendary battle pet warriors as time passed, but we all knew what they were. They could not stay here for an extra second, all of them leaving right after they finished their job without even looking back." Mo suddenly chuckled. "But like I said, we do not blame them for leaving and we stay because we choose to." "Yes," a young man with black hair said, "I'm willing to stay and it's all because of Senior Li. He has stayed here for 800 years. He came here from the very beginning, ever since he reached the legendary rank, and now he has reached the void state. Senior Li showed me what the principle of right and wrong is and what the legendary rank means." "That is correct," another middle-aged man added, "the legendary rank is not merely a rank, but the very image of honor and responsibility. We're happy to stay here. I know that some people don't want to come and I don't care. But if everyone acted like that, humanity as a society would have been long gone. Yes. Some people have to make the sacrifice. We're just willing to stay. I'm staying because of all of you. Well, being honest, I wanted to get the hell out of here when my term ended, but everyone else was staying. Old Mo has been here for 300 years. Joe's been here for 500 years and Brother Li has been here for 800 years. But I've only been here for 50 years. I will not lose to them." An ordinary-looking young man picked his ear with his pinky and voiced his disagreement. You guys, I've already said it. I decided to stay here for 800 years because I got bored about life above ground. Life here is much more thrilling. Just get the hell away from me. Will you stop mentioning me in your conversation?" He was the Senior Li, of whom everyone spoke of. He was the one who had stayed there for 800 years. But at the end of the day, there was just one reason. They were willing to stay. They knew that other legendary battle pet warriors were having the time of their lives idling away, yet they chose to stay. It sounded foolish. But it just so happened that it was that bunch of fools who were sticking to the cardinal principles of righteousness. Someone had to step up. Some chose to allow for people to step up or even push others out, and some were happy to commit by themselves. No one would know if they perished down there. Still, they were willing to fight for a brighter future for the world above. Those legendary battle pet warriors disrupted Suo Ping's view of the tower. He had been terribly disappointed by the things he had seen in the tower. It was a disgrace to see a group of the most powerful people on the blue planet behaving like that. He found it ridiculous and disgusting to see them amusing themselves. He finally understood that those people were just some sand grains being swept away by the great waves. Gold was buried deeper underground. Those people were the worthy members of the tower. The blue planet would have been overrun by the beasts if everyone were like those people up there in the tower. Yunwan Li was frozen on the spot. He had thought that the legendary battle pet warriors would be hopping mad after Suo Ping's disclosure of the truth about the tower. But they knew. They accepted it. They were even discussing it casually. Yunwan Li was at a loss for words. He had been in the tower. He knew what it was like. An old man patted Suo Ping's shoulder and comforted him. "Brother Su, you're still young, don't mind those things. People are different, we just have to be ourselves." Suo Ping remembered that the man had asked him about the Lin family. "Probably," Suo Ping said, sparing them his opinions. He didn't say anything else, he had made up his mind. Those people were guarding the deep caves and he was more than happy to help them. Of course, first things first. He had to find Sol Lingyu, alive or dead. "That is our home." A middle-aged man pointed ahead, putting that depressing topic to rest. Suo Ping raised his head. Leaping into view was a small hill, which looked just like any other he had spotted as they traveled. The air rippled and from inside came an old man. He looked around, his sight lingering on Suo Ping and Yunwan Li. "Where's our boss, man?" He sounded worried. "Don't worry, he's contacting someone. He will be back soon. There were rioting beasts today, but we stopped them. This is Brother Su. That's Brother Yun. Come on, let's go in." The old man was relieved to hear that Ye Wuxia was fine. He sized Suo Ping and Yunwan Li up and down. He felt confused after sensing that Suo Ping was merely at the titled rank, but he didn't probe on the matter. Yunwan Li and Suo Ping followed them into their base. That small hill was just a landmark, the base was hidden inside a seal. Mo told them that the seal had been built with a powerful artifact and the seal could hide them perfectly well. They had been able to build a base and survive for hundreds of years in the deep caves, all thanks to that seal. The first master of the tower was the one who had left behind the artifact. He went down to explore the deep caves but never returned from that trip. He had passed away, a long time before. Inside the seal was a land of idyllic beauty with streams and green plants everywhere, which was a sharp contrast to the white world outside. Suo Ping was surprised. He then thought of his scroll. Yan Binjia was still being kept inside. The scroll, too, was an artifact in which people were able to live. But the world inside the scroll was not as vast as that place. A heavy burden was lifted off their hearts once they stepped into the seal's territory. Some went to fix up something to eat and drink while others arranged and stored the materials they had harvested from the beasts. The others remained close to Suo Ping and Yunwan Li and were peppering them with questions about the world outside. "I haven't heard about the Lin family in a while. I'm an indoors man." What man now?" "It means I usually just stay at home instead of running about." "You can ask Yun here. Look at his white hair, he knows more." "You don't run about? You ran to the deep caves, dude. Brother Yun, tell us." They shifted their focus to Yunwan Li since they couldn't find the answers they wanted from Suo Ping. The latter had no other choice but to answer the questions, one by one. Yunwan Li was grateful and respectful of the legendary battle pet warriors. He told them everything he knew. "Brother Su, are you really at the titled rank? You would soon become a captain if you are willing to come here, once you reach the legendary rank." An old man sat by Suoping, named Senior Li. His full name was Li Yuanfeng, currently at the void state, much like Ye Wuxia was. Still, Ye Wuxia was actually more powerful than him because the former's battle pets were more aggressive and his force field much more intimidating. There were 11 legendary battle pet warriors stationed in that field of ice. 3 of them were at the void state. But the 3 of them were able to summon force fields. The usual would be for only those at the fate state and beyond to manage this. Force fields were different as well. Few were at the fate state on the blue planet. As such, no one bothered to make a clear distinction between force fields' strengths. That being said, those legendary battle pet warriors had been fighting against beasts for a long time. They were able to gauge the strengths of their force fields based on experience. "I'll come here when I find my sister, even if I don't reach the legendary rank," Suoping said. He couldn't sit around in his store selling pets after learning that legendary battle pet warriors were fighting with their lives on the line below ground. He would have never cared about the deep caves if everyone were like those people living in the tower. If it were so, he would just focus on keeping the Longjiang base city safe, even if the world was spiraling toward doom. But this day, he found that many people had been sacrificing their lives without bragging about it. He couldn't sit around and do nothing. "Brother Su, I've never seen anyone like you, but I still suggest you come back after you reach the legendary rank. Whether you can merge with your pets or not is a very different matter. You will also play a bigger role when you reach the legendary rank. I don't want to see you die young. That would be a shame." Li Yuanfeng chuckled. Suoping nodded. Right then, a legendary battle pet warrior holding a plate of roasted beast ribs came along. A tasty smell of spices overwhelmed those present. "Now, come on, let's have something nice to eat to welcome our new friends." The man laughed. The roasted ribs were served, floating a few feet off the ground. Suoping smelled their delicious aroma. It was interesting. "How did you get spices here?" "We've asked the brothers at the entrance to get us some. Recycling astral powers is enough to sustain our lives, but we still have the craving to eat with our very own mouths every now and then," Li Yuanfeng said. He sliced off a big chunk of meat and gave it to Suoping. Suoping took a bite. It was tasty. He heard someone arrive. Ye Wuxiu and the legendary battle pet warrior surnamed Chen had returned. They smiled once they saw the feast. Ye Wuxiu approached Suoping and said, "Brother Su, I asked around. Our friends from the Field of Flames might have met your sister." "For real?" Suoping stood up with a start. "Calm down. They just said might," Ye Wuxiu said. "The Field of Flames was the closest to entrance number 7 a week ago. The guards saw some unusual dragon footprints while on patrol. They thought that some new kinds of beasts were running wild, but I told them about you." "Does your sister have a dragon?" Suoping was trembling. "Dragon's footprints? They might have been left by the Moonfrost dragon." "Yes, she has a Moonfrost dragon." Suoping said at once, "How do I get to the Field of Flames?" Ye Wuxiu was not surprised. Dragons weren't easily obtained by the average battle pet warriors, but it wasn't surprising for his sister to have a dragon, given his strength. "So, I think it's indeed a clue about your sister, but I have to say that it may also be that a dragon is trying to get out," Ye Wuxiu cautioned Suoping. "We would have to go through the corridor to get to the Field of Flames. It's a place where many beasts are lurking. The 5 fields are like the 5 rings of a circle and the corridors are the things which connect the 5 rings. The beasts you saw us fighting came from the corridor. There are passageways to the deeper levels of the deep caves in the corridors. All the beasts are living in the deepest level, their lair. I suppose, 2 or 3 days, Ye Wuxiu guessed." After a moment of silence, Suoping took a deep breath and said, "I have to go myself. I can't even wait for a single day, let alone 2 to 3 days." Solingyu had been missing for a week. Her chances of survival were small already. Say that she was still alive, but 2 to 3 days could change that. Suo Ping knew that he couldn't urge others to hurry, they had done their best. He could see from the field of ice that the legendary battle pet warriors had to guard against the wild beasts. They could help him look for Soul Lingyu, but not everyone would be able to leave their posts to do that. The search would go slowly. Brother Su, hold your horses. What if they find her? Yan Yuxiu said in a hurry, I know that you're good but this is the deep caves. Even I can barely survive the corridor. Beast kings run in large groups there and infant beast kings are countless. The terrain is also complicated. What if people over at the Field of Flames found your sister and then something happened to you? That, Li Yuanfeng nodded in agreement. Captain Ye is right. Brother Su, I know you're worried about your sister. But your worry may have disturbed your mind. I think we should talk about it. Right. Brother Su, don't give in to your impulses. The other people stopped eating their ribs and tried to talk some sense into Suo Ping. The young man had helped them, they didn't want to see him risk his life. They, of all people, knew how dangerous the corridor was. They would not go there if it wasn't completely necessary. Anyone who went there would most likely never return. They also left something unsaid. Suo Ping's sister had broken into the deep caves by herself and she had been missing for a week. Her chances of survival were minimal. She might have already died. They didn't think it was worthwhile for a talent like Suo Ping to perish over someone who was most likely dead. Suo Ping glanced at them. He shook his head. I am going, no matter how dangerous it is. I'll come back if I cannot take it. I sent my sister to the academy so I have to take responsibility. I won't be able to face my parents otherwise. The legendary battle pet warriors looked at each other speechlessly. They had long lost their parents. Even if their parents were still alive, their parents would have been proud, they would not stop them from doing anything. They were surprised to see that Suo Ping would hold them in such regard. Li Yuanfeng heaved a sigh. Alas, I didn't know anyone could be as loyal as you. Never mind. Captain Ye, I will make the trip with Mr. Su. Let's say we're taking a gamble for a better future. Are you in? Yan Yuxiu looked at him. He understood what Li Yuanfeng meant by a gamble for a better future. Suo Ping was merely at the titled rank. It would be unfortunate to see him die in the deep caves at that age. If Suo Ping was able to survive, his combat strength would be much better when he reached the legendary rank, and he would be able to make greater contributions to the deep caves. That was the gamble. No one else said a thing. Most of them were at the ocean state, it would be pointless to propose joining them. Anyone at their rank planning to enter the corridor would be seeking death. Fine. Yan Yuxiu kept silent for a while before he gave his approval. Suo Ping was truly touched. Li Yuanfeng was smiling at him. He looked at Yan Yuxiu and the others. A dangerous strike had just taken place. It was evident that the team needed more people and that had always been the case. Li Yuanfeng, a warrior at the void state, was the backbone. How could he allow for the backbone of their team to take the risk with him? You, Suo Ping shook his head. Thank you so much for your kindness. I'll go there on my own. Brother Su, you're completely unfamiliar with the place and the people. You cannot even find the direction. Are you going to simply go around the corridor? You would die even if you were at the fate state if you cannot find the right path. Li Yuanfeng patted Suo Ping's shoulder. I'm a blessed man because I went to the corridor and I survived, years ago. I'm familiar with the place. I can show you the way at the very least. Suo Ping wished to refuse but he knew he could not when he saw the smile and the determination in Li Yuanfeng's eyes. Li Yuanfeng had also made it clear how dangerous the corridor was. Indeed, Suo Ping needed a guide. Whoosh! Right then, another man arrived. It was Tai who had gone back to check the entrance. He ran over toward the crowd, looking pale. Boss, I didn't see anyone there. Hey! Yan Yuxiu was startled. No one? Are you sure? Everyone else was startled. Some people were enjoying their ribs before that. They put down their food and gazed at Tai with a grieved look in their eyes. Yes, I'm sure. I saw some fresh marks of a fight. I think they belonged to Brother Su and Brother Yun when they fought beasts over there. Tai looked at Su Ping and Yun Wanli. Yun Wanli nodded. Yes. We met some beast kings on our way in and Fate Challenger Su dealt with all of them. The legendary battle pet warriors turned to look at Su Ping with surprise. They had seen what Su Ping's battle pet was able to do. It was amazing to see a titled warrior with the ability to kill several beast kings. I couldn't find the legendary battle pet warriors who should be guarding that post. I looked everywhere. Tai face was clouded. I don't believe it, someone exclaimed. Yan Yuxiu asked Su Ping, were there beast kings outside the entrance above ground? No, Yun Wanli answered instead, I'm in charge of guarding the entrance which is at the center of a base city. The tower would know if there was a beast king outbreak. Something in that answer alerted Yan Yuxiu. So, we can conclude that our friends guarding the place have suffered some misfortune. Yan Yuxiu pulled a long face. The beasts struck but didn't go out. Were they afraid the tower would find out and dispatch people to get rid of them? The beasts must be plotting something. Yun Wanli was dumbstruck. Was that accidental? Are you saying that the beasts struck the legendary battle pet warriors but didn't go out on purpose? Do they want to preserve the illusion that the deep caves are stable? That, yes. I think they're waiting for some kind of opportunity. Maybe they're waiting for a time to destroy the deep caves and escape. Li Yuanfeng bit his teeth. Yun Wanli narrowed his eyes and became colorless. If that were the case, then the beasts were simply too cunning. Also, if that plot were real, how far had the beasts progressed? Was their plot close to fruition? Or were they just getting started? If it were the former. When the plot was completely set in motion and all the beasts got out of the deep caves, the consequences would be unbearable to contemplate. The entire world up above would fall. There were hundreds of times more beast kings in the caves. The tower could send out all their legendary battle pet warriors, but that would not help them, at all. Humans would be eliminated from the blue planet, it would become a planet of beasts. No one could bear the thought of that future. We might be reading too much into it. This may only be a coincidence. Mo tried cheering people up. I think we should report to the tower. I wonder if other entrances are like this. I hope this is just an accident, but let's not underestimate those damned beats' intelligence. Some of them have lived longer than we have, Yan Yuxiu said to Yun Wanli, you're from the tower, right? I will entrust you with sending this message. Yun Wanli came back to his senses. Consider it done. Good. Yan Yuxiu patted his shoulder. We will assign someone to escort you on your way out. Remember, this message has to be delivered. This is about the survival of humanity. Do not worry. I will deliver the message even at the cost of my life. Yun Wanli solemnly promised. The fact that those legendary battle pet warriors were willing to risk their lives down there had touched him deeply, he was more determined than before. Yan Yuxiu was able to feel at ease. Mo, Tai, go and escort Brother Yun out. Okay. No problem. Su Ping said to Yun Wanli, thank you for sending the message, then. That's my job, Yun Wanli exclaimed, I feel fortunate to have made the trip over with you. We wouldn't have known about this grave matter otherwise. Su Ping didn't answer. He was thinking about something else. The tower wouldn't have been ignorant of that impending threat if they would have kept an eye on the deep caves and communicated with the people guarding below instead of drowning themselves in pleasures. The tower may have been cautious and conscientious in the past, but it had later become corrupted. Let's split up, then. I'll go and find my sister. I'll stop by the tower and tell them about this myself if I can get out of here alive, Su Ping said. Yan Yuxiu nodded. Brother Su, wait for me. I'll go and get some weapons, Li Yuanfeng said. okay. Soon after, Ye Wuxiu accompanied Suoping and Yunwan Li and exited the seal. Tai and old Mo left with Yunwan Li and headed towards the surface while the others went with Suoping and Li Yuanfeng to the corridor's entrance in the field of ice. That was an area of critical importance. Legendary battle pet warriors had to exercise extra care. The smell of blood would forever linger in the area. Suoping noticed that something was off as soon as they arrived. Everything looked normal, but there were hidden cracks in the void that could suck careless souls in. Brother Su, pay close attention here. We fight a lot in this area and the space is not going to hold up for long. Consider this place as an invisible swamp that can suck you in at any time, Li Yuanfeng cautioned Suoping. Suoping nodded. Swamp was a suitable analogy for that area. It was indeed a void swamp. He could not see the traps, but he could fall in one of them if he was careless. He would end up in a space and dimension completely different from reality, and the space storms in that dimension could even injure those at the void state. One would have to be extra careful when trying to teleport. Turbulences were frequent where space had been disturbed. That is the way to the corridor. Li Yuanfeng pointed to a direction. A swirl was spinning, it was hole that could suck everything in. Just looking at the swirl had given Suoping pressure. Behind the swirl was the corridor where beasts gathered. Neither could say for sure what they would run into once they got past the swirl. Take care, Ye Wuxiu said to Li Yuanfeng, and Suoping. Li Yuanfeng nodded. He had quit grinning cheekily like he always did. He summoned a void state beast king. The battle pet's bloodline had some dragon heritage mixed in. The pet merged with Li Yuanfeng as soon as it came out. Li Yuanfeng quickly turned into a strong-built dragon man. He grew dragon scales and his fingers turned into claws, he even had a tail. The merger made him feel like a volcano that could erupt at any time. His alertness was a warning for Suoping. He summoned the little skeleton and the dark dragon hound as well. The dark dragon hound immediately added 6 layers of legendary armor to Suoping, making him seem like a moving fortress. The others here were stunned by the dark dragon hound. They could not tell exactly what the pet was, but those defensive skills were amazing. Brother Su, you do have good partners, Li Yuanfeng exclaimed. The little skeleton had already left them a deep impression. That dragon hound turned out to be even more peculiar. Suoping told the dark dragon hound to add those armors to Li Yuanfeng as well. He could not allow anything to happen to Li Yuanfeng, the good man who was willing to risk his life to make the journey. They were armed to the teeth. Li Yuanfeng was ready to step into the swirl. Take care. See you soon. The others said their goodbyes. Li Yuanfeng waved to them and went into the swirl with Suoping. Suoping was right behind Li Yuanfeng. He told the little skeleton and the dark dragon hound to stay close. Going through the swirl reminded him of his trips to the cultivation sites. He felt some distortion in space. He opened his eyes, only to be taken aback. Countless pairs of bloody and fierce eyes fell on him. A bunch of beasts were lurking on the other side of the swirl. Their arrival had alerted them all. Li Yuanfeng was not that surprised. I knew those bastards would be here. Wanna finish them quickly? Suoping asked. Yes, I do. Li Yuanfeng nodded. Suoping launched strikes without reserve. He told the little skeleton to do its best to deal with those beasts. It might sound hard to believe, but all of them were beast kings. They were merely at the ocean state, but the total number reached dozens. That many beast kings would shock the entire globe if they were found above ground. All the base cities would tremble, it would mean complete disaster for any base city. Whoosh! The little skeleton withdrew the bone blade as soon as it got the order. Surrounded in darkness, it dashed around amid the beast kings. Roar! One of the beast kings was able to use a special skill to freeze the area around the little skeleton. Ice appeared out of thin air, the little skeleton was frozen on the spot, and another beast king roared, shattering the frozen little skeleton. Li Yuanfeng could not believe that the little skeleton had been shattered. At the end of the day, the little skeleton was dealing with dozens of vicious beasts that had been inside the deep caves for their entire lives. They were experienced after having fought many battles. No matter how good the skeleton was, it couldn't have finished all those beast kings. When Li Yuanfeng thought he would have to clear out the beast kings himself, all of a sudden, the shattered little skeleton broke free from the ice and then reassembled itself. Once regenerated, it flashed to where a beast king was and slashed its head right between the eyes. One beast king had been slain. Then the little skeleton went to attack another beast king. That beast king panicked and set up many shields and armors. There were other beast kings helping. The little skeleton's movement was hindered and slowed down. However, the little skeleton was able to offset the effect with its field of darkness. Apart from corroding creatures that came in touch with that special field, it could cancel the effect of some energy strikes, ice or fire for instance. There was nothing that could stop the little skeleton. It made its second kill. 2 kills in a row had emboldened the little skeleton. Now and then, the little skeleton would become the victim and fall into many pieces, but it would only take a second to reassemble. Nothing could ultimately kill the little skeleton. Li Yuanfeng was stunned speechless. Even though he knew that pets of the undead family had regeneration skills, that was the first time that he had seen any skeleton coming back to life after becoming a pile of dust. Talk about a tenacious vitality. Sui Ping stood by the swirl instead of joining the fight. He summoned the Inferno Dragon to help the little skeleton out and finish the fight as soon as possible. He chose to let the Dark Dragon Hound stay with him. He was bothered by the fact that the Dark Dragon Hound had developed nothing but defensive skills, but it turned out that it could make for a good bodyguard. The little skeleton's strikes have no weaknesses, but I think there's potential trouble when facing containment skills. Sui Ping watched as the little skeleton fought the Beast Kings with courage. The pet's terrifying strikes were able to hurt Beast Kings, and even the Dragon Beast Kings would be wounded by that all-conquering bone blade. Still, the little skeleton could be slowed down by defensive skills. The little skeleton was able to regenerate as long as there's energy. But the downside for the little skeleton was that it could be contained after regenerating. That way, even though the little skeleton would still be alive, it would no longer be able to move freely. Sui Ping realized he had to train his little skeleton in that regard. He had to make sure that the little skeleton had no weak spots. Brother Su, your battle pets are amazing. Li Yuanfeng looked at the little skeleton and the Inferno Dragon, which were even more intimidating than the Beast Kings. He produced a forced smile and wondered where he had gotten his battle pets. None of them were beyond the ocean state, but they were killing those ocean state Beast Kings as if chopping vegetables. It was unbelievable. Instead of enjoying the show, Li Yuanfeng dashed over and joined the fight. Roar! Li Yuanfeng was like a walking dragon while merged with his dragon. He reached a Beast King and tore its head right off with his claws. His tail was also sharp. The tail penetrated a beast's skull while he grabbed its head to make the kill with more ease. Sui Ping wanted to battle personally as well, after being spurred by Li Yuanfeng's primitive way of fighting. But, he had to be on the lookout for potential hidden danger. Roar! Roar! The brawl lasted for a few minutes. The roars and noises gradually subsided. The little skeleton returned to the place where Sui Ping stood, and so did Li Yuanfeng. He was covered in blood and panting. Brother Su, let's go. We don't have time to harvest materials from those bastards. Sui Ping nodded. He didn't care about those materials to begin with. He could have scavenged the Beast Kings in the cultivation sites if he wanted them. Those materials would merely be used for weapons, or as part of some special food. But Sui Ping had enough of those special foods already. He didn't know how to craft weapons. So, harvesting the Beast Kings was meaningless for him. He also didn't think there was anyone on the blue planet who could use Beast King's body parts to make weapons. The legendary battle pet warriors' mighty weapons were usually found in mysterious realms or inside the spatial cracks, instead of being forced by some people. Whoosh! Sui Ping took the Inferno Dragon that was covered in blood back to his contract space and hopped onto the Dark Dragon Hound and left with Li Yuanfeng. The dark dragon hound breathed out a stream of air that enveloped the two people. That was used to hide their smell and energy, so that no creature would be able to sense them. Sui Ping and Li Yuanfeng went into the depths of the corridor. It was a wide tunnel with some crooked places and a sense of destruction. Sui Ping was sure he would be sucked into chaos if he touched those strange spots, even the little skeleton would die for good. Luckily, being sensible enough, Sui Ping was able to avoid those dangerous spots, and so was Li Yuanfeng, who had a deep understanding of the spatial rules and mechanisms since he was at the void state. The corridor was like a maze with many crossroads. Sui Ping and Li Yuanfeng traveled with care and they kept as quiet as possible. Even so, they would run into some beasts that were resting along the way. They would always finish the beasts quickly and head off to the next place. I think I'm lost. At another crossroad, Li Yuanfeng stopped and scratched his head. Sui Ping could not believe him. Lost? You think? I came to this place hundreds of years ago. I can't even remember when, but I don't think the corridor was like this. The structure changed. I think some beasts of the stone family must have done this. Li Yuanfeng forced a bitter smile. He made it sound as if it weren't a big deal, but the frown gave him away. Getting lost in there meant danger. Before they entered the corridor, Li Yuanfeng had pointed out that they would have to go through more detours if they ever got lost. There they would find many beasts, and most of them would be of beast rank, including ones at the void state. They would encounter a void state beast king at some point. Sui Ping was at a loss for words. Of course, he wasn't thinking of blaming Li Yuanfeng for it. Time could erase so many things. He already owed Li Yuanfeng a bit, merely due to the fact that he had been willing to risk his life to act as his guide. How about I go back with you? I can then come back and try on my own, Sui Ping proposed. Sui Ping had told the dark dragon hound to make some markings along the way. Of course, they weren't the usual markings, like canine urine. The dark dragon hound had learned a special marking skill by itself. It wasn't based on urine, but the skill did have something to do with saliva. They couldn't find their way forward, but the markings could make sure that they would be able to find their way back. No, Li Yuanfeng shook his head. He could no longer fulfill his job as a guide at that point. Sure, there would be no problem for Sui Ping to escort him back to safety, but he wouldn't accept that arrangement. We've fought our way over, we must have disturbed other beasts close by. We also killed some beasts in their lairs, and those empty lairs would soon be occupied by other beasts as well. To go back would entail a bigger danger. We should keep moving forward. Li Yuanfeng continued, I don't have much of a sense of direction right now, but I do have experience that can be of assistance to you. I prepared myself for the worst before I came with you. Should anything happen to me, Brother Su, I just hope that you would give up searching for your sister, leave this place and live on. Sui Ping was moved into speechlessness. I'll make sure that nothing happens to you, Sui Ping said after a moment of silence. He was grateful for Li Yuanfeng's support. However, since he accepted Li Yuanfeng's kind offer of accompanying him, Sui Ping decided that he would save Li Yuanfeng before he saved himself. If I receive drops of water when in need, I shall return the kindness with a spring. That was the principle that Sui Ping had always adhered to. Of course, the same rule applied to viciousness as well. Li Yuanfeng patted Sui Ping's shoulder in silence. He looked at the paths ahead. A wisp of astral power flew out of Li Yuanfeng and flickered in the air. Something pulled the astral powers to the left. Li Yuanfeng said, let's take the path to the right. Sui Ping had understood his intention the moment he unleashed his astral powers. He would also use that method to find his way in cultivation sites. The veteran warriors would usually know of similar methods. Astral powers flying to the left meant that there were beasts absorbing astral powers in that general direction. So, going to the right path was safer. Sure. Sui Ping patted the dark dragon hound and pressed forward with Li Yuanfeng. Inside the sealed area in the field of ice, an aloof-looking young man with dark hair voiced his worries. I wonder if they've found the exit yet. An old man shared his concern, I hope that old Lee is okay and that the young man stays safe. Once that youngster reaches the legendary rank, he will have the potential to be someone who could become the master of the tower. He was the one who had cautioned Suaping to be careful with the way he spoke. Yuxiu heaved a sigh. It is not them that I'm worried about. I'm more concerned by what the beasts are up to. Cap, are you worried that the other entrances are in the same situation? Someone asked. Yuxiu nodded as he heaved another sigh. If that's the case, more beasts will come out from the corridor. They will wipe us out and they'll finally gain access to the outside world. The tower will never react in time. The others looked at each other in silent dismay. The deep caves were like a turtle, containing the beast kings under the shell. The shell was hard, the beast kings were unable to break the shell with the ancient formation. However, the openings for the limbs, tail, and neck represented chances for the beast kings to get out. The legendary battle pet warriors had to look after those openings. They were able to do their job because they only had to deal with a few beast kings each time, all due to the terrains. However, it would be a completely different story if the beast kings could get past them and reach the world outside. The number of legendary battle pet warriors in the tower was limited. The base cities above ground would have been flattened by the time they managed to wipe out all the beast kings. I think they can check out the situation in the corridor. If they can come back, the middle-aged man did not finish his words. The others suddenly understood why Yuxiu agreed to have Li Yuanfeng go with Suaping. Li Yuanfeng would not only protect Suaping, but also gather information. They had been in the deep caves for far too long to reject such an idea. They weren't worried about their own lives, they just hoped that all their efforts over the years wouldn't have been done in vain. If only those folks in the Federation could come and help us get this over with, a man suddenly exclaimed with a bitter tone. Don't count on the Federation. They just think of the blue planet as a scrapped place. Apart from the official government, no one would want to waste their resources on performing kind deeds like this. That idea was rejected coldly. Everyone shook their heads. They had never placed their hopes on the Federation anyway. The Federation? Well, they indeed had people that were above the legendary rank. One of such people could have contained the beasts in the deep caves with one blow and solved the problem that had been a painful problem for the blue planet for over 1,000 years. But no one like that would want to waste a tiny bit of their energy on the blue planet. It was just like a billionaire who wouldn't go to a remote mountain village just to donate one coin. They didn't want to blame those people, and that was the most pathetic part. Because, if they were the ones with power, they wouldn't notice a minor problem on a minor planet, either. 3 days went by. Inside the deep caves, Suaping and Li Yuanfeng were hiding next to a wall, resting for a while. They could not believe that they had not found the exit yet. After 3 days had gone past, they still had to play hide and seek in there. When hiding wasn't possible, they would run away or finish the beasts as quickly as they could. They had tried their best to fight at the very beginning, but later opted to run whenever possible to save some energy. The opening must lead to the hurricane field, which is between the ice field and flames field. I think we shouldn't be far from the flames field, Li Yuanfeng whispered. They had found a swirl and tried it the day before, only to end up in the hurricane field, which was a world devoid of ground and water. They couldn't even find a place to step on. The legendary battle pet warriors would have to fly around in the air all year long. They would use artifacts that could enable them to stand on air. Their astral powers would have been depleted if they had to rely solely on themselves. Li Yuanfeng and Suaping left the hurricane field and continued their search. They spent the past 3 days acting with extreme caution. Boom _ A beast roamed over from around a corner. It was a mix between a snake and an insect that went past Suaping and Li Yuanfeng. It didn't notice them. They stopped cloaking themselves and found their way forward once it left. Wait! All of a sudden, Suaping noticed that something was glistening on the path that the beast had just gone over. Upon a closer look, he noticed it was a silver scale. Chapter 598 Brother. The scale was glistening, he was able to feel that trace of dragon's presence. It looks like the Moonfrost dragon's scales but different somehow, so Ping wore a grave expression. It was both good and bad to find the scale there. The good part was that he had finally discovered traces of Sol Lingyu, the bad thing was that he had discovered the clues in the deep caves. Had Sol Lingyu entered the corridor from the flames field? If that was the case, So Ping would have to let go of the last trace of hope he had. He could find beast kings everywhere in the corridor. Living there for a week would be dangerous even for him, let alone Sol Lingyu. What's the matter? Li Yuanfeng noticed what So Ping was holding. Does the scale have anything to do with your sister? The scale is from my sister's battle pet. Li Yuanfeng turned pale. That is unlikely. Your sister would have had to go through the flames field and there are legendary battle pet warriors there, they would have stopped her if they had seen her. There's also the time when our captain reached out to them, they told him specifically that they didn't see your sister. It's impossible for her to be here. So Ping didn't disagree with him. Li Yuanfeng was right. However, that piece of scale was proof. He wasn't wrong about the scale. Or, was it because that beast in the flames field had carried the scale over? So Ping thought about that beast. He stood up after a moment's hesitation. I'm going to catch that beast king to ask some questions. Li Yuanfeng spent 1 second thinking about it and agreed. He, too, was curious. The past 3 days together told Li Yuanfeng that So Ping was a man of caution, he was even more seasoned when it came to cloaking techniques. It was unlikely for the young man to misjudge a scale. The entire thing was strange. That beast king is merely at the ocean state, let's get this over with, Li Yuanfeng said to So Ping. So Ping nodded. They hid themselves when that beast king moved closer, not because they were afraid of it, but because they wanted to conserve their strength by avoiding unnecessary fights, and to make sure that they wouldn't alert more beast kings. Whoosh! Whoosh! They found their way forward in stealth mode. They had quickly caught up with the beast. Their teamwork was quite good, they approached the beast from both flanks and struck it abruptly. It was unfortunate for the beast king since its realm was at the ocean state, Li Yuanfeng alone could have subdued it and So Ping was also present. The two had knocked it out before the beast king realized what was going on. So Ping took out his scroll and stuffed the beast king in. Li Yuanfeng was surprised to see that So Ping had such an amazing interspatial artifact. So Ping left the little skeleton outside, gave the scroll to Li Yuanfeng and got into the scroll himself. Is that a beast king? Yan Binjia was still inside the scroll and she had lost all sense of time. She would either sleep or cultivate. The sudden appearance of the beast had startled her. Her face was contorted by fear when she found out that the creature was a beast king. Beast king! A living and breathing beast king just collapsed in front of me. She had seen beasts at the peak of the 9th rank and they were nothing compared to a beast king. Just a breath from the beast king had suffocated her. Whoosh! So Ping came down and stood on the beast king. Yan Binjia came back to her senses. She bit her teeth in hatred, that was the guy who had kept her there. Is this your battle pet? Yan Binjia asked. So Ping darted her a glance but didn't reply. He made an awl with his astral powers and poked the beast king's head. The pain woke the beast king up. Roar! The beast king bellowed and glared at So Ping, ready to strike. So Ping opened his swirl and the inferno dragon came out, looking down at the beast king from a height. The beast king stopped venting its anger, as it had been intimidated by the inferno dragon. Dragons were the kings of all beasts and that held true even among beast kings. While being at the same rank and state, dragons and demon pets were still considered the most powerful. The Inferno Dragon had become even more terrifying once he obtained the bloodline of the purple blood dragons, deterring the usual beast kings had become a walk in the park. Yan Binjia widened her eyes. She had seen that battle pet but it looked too different. The disparity in appearance was not the only thing she noticed, she also felt that intimidating presence the Beast King alone had made it difficult for her to breathe. The Inferno Dragon had almost forced her heart to stop beating. What is it about this dragon that made it so terrifying? Has such a long time gone by in the outside world? Since when did this guy's battle pets become so powerful? Once he gained control of the Beast King, Sua Ping took out the silver scale and started the questioning. The Beast King behaved thanks to the pressure imposed by the Inferno Dragon's gaze. The rule of the jungle determined that the Beast King would not dare to disobey the Inferno Dragon, the latter would devour it if otherwise. Soon, Sua Ping found out that the Beast King knew nothing of the silver scale and had never left the corridor. Sua Ping was baffled. Is Soling Yu really here? A moment later, Sua Ping told the Inferno Dragon to return to the contract space, then killed the Beast King before he left. The Beast King could destroy the world inside the scroll if he wasn't around, and he had no other interspatial artifact to put the Beast King away. If the creature got out, it could run away and tip other Beast Kings off. Sua Ping killed the Beast King easily, which stunned Yan Binjiu. She grabbed the chance and asked before he left, "When will you let me out?" Sua Ping didn't even look at her, lest speak to her, before he went away. Yan Binjiu bit her lip and stomped her feet. Sua Ping put away the scroll. How was it? The Beast King never left the corridor. Sua Ping asked, "Brother Li, are you sure that the entrances to the corridor are guarded by the legendary battle pet warriors? Are there any other points of entry?" "No, there aren't." Li Yuanfeng shook his head. The entire deep caves are, in fact, a huge and mysterious formation that is said to have been formed in the ancient times. Apart from the available pathways, the other places are strongly fortified, unless the legendary battle pet warriors in the Flames Field have neglected their duties, or they weren't there. But our captain contacted them not so long ago. If your sister were here, then the only explanation would be that the legendary battle pet warriors posted there have neglected their duties. Sua Ping nodded. He didn't get to meet the legendary battle pet warriors in the Flames Field and could not say for sure if they had neglected their duties or not. Let's have a look around. We haven't found our way to the Flames Field anyway. She cannot be far away from us if she is here, Sua Ping said. Li Yuanfeng nodded. He went there as a guide, but then lost his way in less than half a day. They had encountered serious troubles during the past 3 days. It was a good thing that Sua Ping was even more able than he had imagined. They were able to solve the problems together. They could have already died there. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them went back to where they found the silver scale and carefully searched along the pathway. Soon, he found 2 more silver scales. Sua Ping didn't know how to describe his feelings. He was excited and afraid at the same time. Sometimes they would end up in a dead end, while sometimes they would run into lairs where Beast Kings were soundly asleep. Sua Ping found more silver scales after half a day had passed. They reached a dark and smelly den. Sua Ping and Li Yuanfeng were fumbling around when they heard a feeble voice. "Brother!" That voice was barely audible, but the absolute silence made it clear. Li Yuanfeng and Sua Ping were startled. Sua Ping recognized the voice. He could not believe it. He looked over, he found a girl gradually showing herself, next to the dark wall. It was Soling Yu. Sua Ping could not believe it, but soon discarded all his doubts and questions. He was seized with joy. He had found her. She was still alive. Sua Ping rushed to her and wrapped his arms around her. Li Yuanfeng was still in a daze. Of course he could tell that the girl was his sister, but he didn't think that they would find her there, and alive. How amazing! He had found out that Sua Ping's sister was merely at the 6th or 7th rank, based on his previous chats with Sua Ping. It was already unbelievable that she could enter the deep caves, not to mention the corridor. Li Yuanfeng was almost convinced the girl had died. What a miracle! Watching the siblings' reunion had brought a smile to Li Yuanfeng's face. Sua Ping ended the hug and regained his calmness. He saw that Soling Yu looked weird. He let go of her arms and sized her up and down. She was covered in silver dragon scales and the paleness indicated that she was weak. Her pupils had turned golden. "What is this?" So Ping asked. Had she merged with her battle pet? But Solingyu was not at the legendary rank. He had not reached the legendary rank yet. What are you doing here?" Solingyu thought of something. She seemed embarrassed and nervous. She took a look around and unleashed some astral powers to envelop Suoping and Li Yuanfeng. The silvery glow that fell over them hid their presence. They were almost invisible. "Why are you here?" Suoping looked at her. He was angry at her and worried for her at the same time. This gal has never stopped making trouble. They tricked Snowball into coming here and I came to find her. Solingyu's voice dropped lower and lower. She entered that place to find Snowball, but then some beast kings popped out and surrounded her when she went to a certain place inside. There was no way back for her. She had no other choice but to keep on running forward. She ended up in that place somehow. She realized that the place was full of beast kings. She couldn't go anywhere. Having no other choice, she went into hiding and waited for death to arrive. She had given up all hope. But when she thought that death was inevitable, she saw Suoping. "They?" Suoping took a second before he asked in a deep voice, "Do you mean the student surnamed Nan from the academy? You know about that?" Solingyu immediately realized that Suoping must have gone to the academy or else he wouldn't have been there. How did they catch Snowball? Also, this place is off limits in your academy. Do you not know how dangerous this is? Is it all worthwhile, just for a pet? Suoping was mad at her. They could always get another pet. That charcoal-like phantom flame beast didn't have some rare bloodline, either. I know that, but Snowball has always been my pet. And, you trained Snowball, so she's better than before. I cannot allow anything to happen to her. Solingyu bit her lips and tears glistened in her eyes. She wasn't bad because Suoping had scolded her. It was because she felt sorry for what she did, which was the only reason for Suoping to be there in the first place. She knew what that place was. She thought Suoping would be able to get in but never get out. "So, you wanted to come here and end up in trouble along with Snowball?" Suoping said grumpily. He did want to let his temper go rampant, but the look on her face made him stop. He might have done the same thing if Snowball were his battle pet. "Did you find Snowball?" "Yes." "How did they catch Snowball in the first place? Wasn't Snowball in your contract space?" "Snowball likes to hang out and I always let Snowball stay outside with me," Solingyu whispered. Suoping rolled his eyes. Snowball liked to hang outside. Just for that, it almost got its master killed. He realized that he may not have trained Snowball well. "Give Snowball to me when we get back. I will train it some more." Suoping squeezed the words out of his mouth. Solingyu stared at him. Somehow, she found his words were full of killing intent. But could they even go back? She lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry for having dragged you down again. I'm glad that you do know this. Don't you always forget." Suoping interrupted her self-blame. Solingyu was a proud girl. Apologizing, again and again, was not making her feel good about herself. She was indeed sorry. Still, Suoping believed he had to make her remember. After all, the deep caves wasn't a place to have fun. Li Yuanfeng smiled as he saw the siblings. "We can go back now that you've found your sister," he said to Suoping. "Yes." Li Yuanfeng's voice made Suoping feel less grumpy. "This isn't the place for us to talk. I'll take you outside first," he said to Solingyu. Solingyu finally raised her head. "There are 5 beast kings roaming about in this area. We can run into them if we get out. Then we'll run." Suoping didn't bother to waste time in that place. He opened up the scroll. "Get inside and have some rest. I can help you. Moon has learned very powerful hiding skills, like the one I'm using." The skill can cover up our breaths and sounds completely. This is how I've been able to survive without the Beast Kings finding me. But I can't move fast enough when I'm using it. She refused to go into the scroll. So Ping also noticed that the skill she had just used was quite strange. Even though she had given a solid reason, he wouldn't allow her to stay outside. You don't have a lot of astral powers left in you. Go ahead and have some rest. We can find a way out now that we made our way in. Staying outside with us will only slow us down. So Lingye wanted to defend herself. But Li Yuanfeng advised her otherwise, just listen to your brother. We've been here for some time now and we must get out. So Lingye had to relent since the two men insisted. She crawled into the scroll, but before she went in, she gave one last gaze at So Ping. If you're in danger, run and leave this place. Don't worry about me. I'm going to count on you to take care of our parents, you doomsayer. Shut up, So Ping stopped her. He pushed her head into the scroll. So Lingye fell into the scroll, head first. So Ping closed the scroll, violently. Li Yuanfeng didn't know what to say. Come on. Time to go back, So Ping said to Li Yuanfeng. Li Yuanfeng asked a weird question, Brother Su, do you have a girlfriend? Why would I want a girlfriend? In the depths of the corridor, there was a massive hole. Its bottom was the actual lair where all the beasts in the deep caves gathered. Of course, as more and more beasts were multiplied, the lair had no more space left. Naturally, the weak would be marginalized in that place. As such, those beasts would have to leave their lair and get a place to live in the corridor. Many pieces of bones were scattered by the edge of the hole in a pitch-dark den. The flesh had been eaten up by something. A crimson eye was suddenly opened in the darkness. The pupil ran across the eye vertically. Its structure was complex, being made by tissues entangled together. The look in the eye was as cold as ice. Whoosh! A beast with 4 wings flew over. It had the body of a lion but a human head. The beast landed in front of the eye and the beast was merely as big as the pupil. The 4-winged beast lowered its head and said with the utmost respect, Sir, how can I be of service? The crimson eye moved. A deep and sonorous voice was heard. I smelled some puny things. Find them and kill them. Although surprised, the winged beast immediately acknowledged the order. A beast full of power and grandeur had crawled over from a fork in the road, leaving behind a foul-smelling scent. So Ping felt he was getting dizzy. He quickly held his breath again and used astral powers to force the toxins out of his body. The beasts wobbled away. Li Yuanfeng and So Ping waited for a while before they resumed their journey. I think those beasts are getting more active, Li Yuanfeng pointed that out with a grave look on his face. Most of the beasts had been asleep when they first got into the corridor. But by also counting the beast they had just met, they had encountered over a dozen beasts on the move as they made their way back. They found 4 of the beasts which had been asleep when they got there in the beginning. They currently were also moving about. When it came to beasts, their time would be spent either on finding food or resting, mostly the latter. That was it. But the beasts could remain full for half a month or even longer after each time they hunted. It was strange that all the beasts would come out to find food all of a sudden. I think we must leave as soon as possible, So Ping said. He also felt something was off. He could not say what, but it felt as if something were watching them. The beasts that were roaming about seemed more violent than before. He felt uneasy. Sure. Li Yuanfeng nodded. They pressed along, following the marks they had left on their way in. The corridor had a complicated structure, like a massive spider web where anyone could get lost. However, they were able to find their way back thanks to the marks left by the dark dragon hound. Wait a moment. Li Yuanfeng made a sudden stop. He pressed his ear on the wall. Something seemed to have frightened him a few seconds later, because he began to shout, "Run!" So Ping was confused. But Li Yuanfeng had begun to teleport, not even bothering to maintain his disguise. Sua Ping quickly realized that it had to be some grave danger and immediately followed. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them quickly teleported from one spot to another in the corridor. Some time later, a dark swirl suddenly appeared in the air right in front of them. Wings reached out from that swirl, and following the wings was a gigantic beast which resembled a lion. The beast had 4 black wings and its height reached over a dozen meters, while its length was at about 30 meters. The beast carried an overwhelming energy. I see the two tiny things now. The beast with 4 wings looked down at Sua Ping and Li Yuanfeng from a height, flashing a terrifying grin. The beast's upper body didn't resemble a lion, but a human being. It had 4 arms and each held different weapons, including a rod, an axe, a sword, and a piece of iron chain. It's a void state beast. Li Yuanfeng was scared. His instinct told him that it wasn't an average void state beast king. He was even getting goosebumps. He wouldn't have felt that way when he was fought regular beast kings of that rank. After all, he had been fighting in the deep caves for 800 years, he had killed a lot of them. Sua Ping narrowed his eyes. He was also able to notice this before Li Yuanfeng cautioned him. He was familiar with beast kings of all states because he had met many. Let's get this over with. Sua Ping whispered to Li Yuanfeng. A swirl opened up and the little skeleton came out. Li Yuanfeng nodded. He opened up swirls of his own to let out his Beast King battle pets as well. He had opened up 12 swirls in an instant. The 12 Beast Kings stood on the path. That was the most powerful ensemble he had. Whoosh! A dragon covered with sharp spikes bellowed. Just like a ray of light, the dragon vanished as it went into Li Yuanfeng. He merged with his dragon. The old warrior grew in strength instantly. He had gone far beyond the void state immediately. The other battle pets didn't stay idle while he went through the merging. They started to unleash their skills. Colorful wisps of energy were poured into Li Yuanfeng. He became a warrior wearing elegant armor the moment he finished with the merging. He looked like a god who had descended from heaven. Go to hell! Li Yuanfeng snarled. He absorbed the energy that his battle pets shared with him and instantly reached the 4-winged beast. Li Yuanfeng extended his arm, which had turned into a dragon's limb. Space was twisted. A black claw mark appeared in the air. Space was wrapped into a cube from which many iron chains were shot out, tying up the flying beast. Bang! Li Yuanfeng slapped the winged beast. There was a bang and the vicious beast slipped backward for hundreds of meters. Li Yuanfeng then heard that the iron chains were breaking before he could strike again. The 4-winged beast uttered a long cry into the air. The beast's violent energy was soon spread all across the corridor. The beast was covered in dust, but the red glow from its eyes was still visible. You puny void state insect! This is not a place for you to prance about. The flying beast stepped forward as it roared again. A dark blast wave came out from the beast's mouth. It had hit Li Yuanfeng across the distance the moment it appeared. Li Yuanfeng's many armors and shields broke. He quickly used his arms to protect his head, but the impact still smashed him away. Sua Ping rushed over and stopped Li Yuanfeng from touching the ground. But the impact of the fall still stunned him. Whoosh! Sua Ping helped Li Yuanfeng recover his footing. That thing is scary. Li Yuanfeng looked pale. He wasn't able to win with a single blow, even while using his utmost strength. The 4-winged beast was simply terrifying. Let's flank it. Sua Ping proposed. He gradually showed his true strength. White bones were appearing from under his skin, covering him up like a piece of armor. Even his face and lips were covered with white bones. It seemed as if his teeth were growing outside. Li Yuanfeng narrowed his eyes. What is this? A special skill, Sua Ping mentioned casually before he teleported to the beast. Apart from borrowing the little skeleton's strength, Sua Ping was also able to unleash some of the little skeleton's skills. Of course, save for the legendary rank skills. Bang! Sua Ping was then merely dozens of meters away from the winged beast. The space around the beast had become more solid, there were blades in that space which could cut Suaping into pieces the moment he stepped into that area. He directly decided to use a spiritual skill, a rare one that the little skeleton had mastered. Nightmare space. The spiritual strike could bypass any limitations in space. The four-winged beast was startled. The next second, the spiritual manifestation of the beast appeared in the nightmare space that Suaping had summoned. Go to hell! Suaping slapped at the beast with tremendous force. Roar! The winged beast had finally seen its surroundings. The towering Suaping scared and enraged the beast. It was immediately able to tell that it was the spiritual realm. The beast felt humiliated by the fact that a human being was trying to crush it with spiritual strikes. The beast roared and demonstrated its strong killing intent, gradually growing in size to become as large as Suaping, then pounced at him. Suaping punched at the beast, but the latter was even more vicious, ignoring the punch and pinning Suaping on the ground, then attempted to tear him apart with its teeth. That was Suaping's spiritual manifestation, and the strike was aimed at his spirit. The killing intent was ebbing away from Suaping's face. The next second, a dark force field opened up from behind him. An incomparable low roar from the ancient times melodiously emerged from inside. It seemed to be coming from the end of the sky. The four-winged beast trembled as if having suffered a heavy blow. It gazed into the force field and saw the outline of a terrifying creature. The beast was scared. The beast cried all of a sudden. It turned into a puff of mist and vanished. Suaping went back to reality again. He saw a deep wound in the beast's chest. That pain had pulled the beast out from the nightmare space. Li Yuanfeng was about to land another blow, but the beast pushed Li Yuanfeng away. The shockwaves in the air forced him to step back. Boom _. The earth trembled and the mountains swayed. Vines grew out from the walls around them, entangling the beast's body and wings. That was the doing of one of Li Yuanfeng's beast kings. The next second, dark flames burst out from the winged beast, which burned off the green glowing vines. Roar! The beast turned around, glaring at Suaping with fear and rage.